Evan Klosky returns to the show to talk Brady, Trask, and some recent roster moves. Let's go.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to the Locked On Bucs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are your daily podcast covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. We thank you for making us your first listen or view of the day. I am James Yarcho, joined by 10 Tampa Bay's Evan Klosky, after he had a nice week off. Of course, you can check out everything Evan's doing over at 10tampabay.com and on 10 Tampa Bay. You can check out my work over at SBNationsBucksNation.com. And, of course, make sure you're following along on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JYarcho_Bucs, at eKlosky, WTSP. Again, we thank you for making the Locked On Bucs podcast your first listen or view of the day. Evan, welcome back. There's lots to catch up on after you missed last week. Of course, David and I had a ton of coverage coming out of training camp, and you got a nice week off right before we ramp things up and get close to the regular season. And we're going to hear your thoughts on the preseason game against the Dolphins in just a few minutes, but we need to start with the biggest news regarding the Bucs since the last time you were on, and that, of course, is Tom Brady's absence. I know I as soon as it happened, I'm like, Evan's going to want to talk about this. Thoughts. So yeah, what did you think when you heard the news on Thursday that Brady was going to be gone for over a week, right in the middle of training camp?
So there are two parts of my brain, right? And both can be true. First and foremost, Tom Brady does not need training camp, okay? So when we talk about the on-field product and what is going to happen with the Buccaneers come September 11th against the Dallas Cowboys, him missing 10 days or so with this team, with the coaching staff, whatever, it's not going to matter because he's Tom frickin' Brady. And while this is a bit of an unprecedented circumstance, having a 45-year-old quarterback who's the greatest of all time is also an unprecedented circumstance. So let me get that out of the way first before I say the second part, which is this is not normal. It is a flag of some sorts. I don't know what that flag means. I don't know the repercussions of that flag. I don't know if that flag has any consequences for the Buccaneers. But Tom Brady is a perfectionist. He is a guy that loves as many practice snaps as possible, repetitions, especially with new teammates. He is somebody who came back to the Bucs when he unretired and talking about his retirement, saying that he would not return to the sport if he could not give it 100% of his being with everything he pours into the scouting and the film and the work regimen and so on and so forth. And then he comes in, he misses 3 of 6 days, and then misses a week and a half. I mean, if this was not Tom Brady, it would be really, really concerning. The fact is, it is Tom Brady, so I'm not really that concerned. But to say that this is not abnormal and to think that this was also pre-planned, which I am a smidge of a skeptic on. I don't think I'm not going to go out and say it's a lie because we do not know. It just seems a little bit odd that the Buccaneers would not go right at the beginning of camp, or Todd Bowles would have mentioned, look, this is going to be a different camp for Tom Brady this year. He's going to have some pre-planned days off, more than what we've seen in the past. Just know that we know what's going on. We're in constant communication, and don't be surprised when stuff pops up. But to say that this was pre-planned and what was the harm of getting ahead of that news? What would have been the harm of saying this is going to happen? Like, I don't know. I think that, something doesn't smell right. And again, that could be something in his personal life, but as far as what we've heard, it has nothing to do with a medical issue with his family members or Gisele's family members. It could be simply put that the work-life balance and returning this year, there were going to be some stipulations, and he's going to essentially cash in some PTO days, as I've been saying. But there is something strange here. We have not figured it out. I don't know if we will ever figure it out. But something is different when a quarterback takes off 10 days of training camp. Nobody does that. Nobody. And Tom Brady would probably be the last person I would think of to do something like that because of his commitment to the sport, the commitment to his teammates, the commitment to the coaches, and what we've seen on his resume for 23 years.
Yeah, one of my working theories was kind of if this was pre-planned, and of course there is the skepticism there because you're right. I mean, I guess the Bucs, Todd Bowles could have laid it out early on. At the same time, you would have been fielding questions nonstop. Why are you going to be gone? Where are you going? Why can't you do this a different time instead of during training camp and so on and so forth? But
he's going to have to field that anyway. And guess what? He's going to have to field it closer to the game, closer to the regular season. Get it out of the way. Just get it out of the way. Rip the Band-Aid off.
On the flip side, let's put on our tinfoil hats for a second here. The questions that he's going to have to field after he returns is going to be about this absence, right? Yeah. You know what no one's going to be asking about anymore? The tampering.
I guess so. But honestly, even with the tampering stuff, that's going to come up. Certainly it's going to be at the bottom of the pile. But there is a list of things to address with Brady. And that is going to be asked at some point. When he comes back, it's going to be an unloading. And guess what? We're only going to have 5 to 7 minutes with him. So that means the next time he comes back, it's going to be brought up the second time. So even though the tampering might not be brought up the first time, it's probably going to be brought up the second time. So he can't escape it. He can answer whatever way he wants. But at least before week 1, he's going to have to face the media on that Thursday that he typically does, and he's going to have to shoot down questions. And he's going to probably be like, I don't want to talk about it. It's personal, blah, blah. He'll give us nothing. We know he's going to give us nothing. We got to ask him the question, and that will be that. But to me, I just came off of watching the Jeter documentary, and the one thing that guy hated, right, were distractions. Like the number one thing, like, what can I do to not make distractions? This is a big, fat distraction. So I think it would be in the best interest of not only Tom Brady, but it would be in the best interest of his teammates for him to just get up there, say, hey, ask me whatever you want, but today is it. I'm not answering this anymore past tomorrow or past this press conference. You leave it on the table, that's on you. But I will answer all of this, all the questions you have. And after today, it's purely football. And then get it over with.
And this is going to be looked at as a distraction if the Bucs go out and lose to Dallas in week 1. If they go out and beat Dallas, no one is worried about the repercussions of this anymore. But if they lose to the Cowboys, it's going to be, what if Brady had been there for those 10 days? This is what happens when your quarterback leaves in the middle of training camp. Even Tom Brady can't escape this. Yeah,
you can see Stephen A. Smith right now. Tom Brady, a great friend of mine. We many a times have had breakfast together, way longer than we should have had. But no way did Tom Brady need to miss 2 weeks of camp.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. So I mean, whatever. And that was a horrible Stephen A. Smith impersonation. But nonetheless, you understand where I'm coming from. But you're right, because the fact of the matter is, if they come back and they do not perform up to capabilities, who is going to be enemy number 1 to the masses? It's going to be Brady, which is nothing abnormal. But he's given ammo now to media, public, fans, whatever it might be. So if he doesn't look right week 1, we are going to have a salty Tom on our hands. But again, this is all kind of – I still think it's noise. In the end, I think this is all noise. So that's why I say, you have to treat this news as 2 different things. Can we recognize that this is weird, abnormal, not right, and something's fishy? Absolutely. Can we recognize that all this probably does not matter come September 11th with the Dallas Cowboys, even if they lose? Do I think that it's because he missed 10 days of training camp? No. So, and I will say that. I will not be joining the bandwagon of people against Tom. I think that we can be critical of what's happening and also recognize that what's happening probably does not have an effect on the regular season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
All right, well, we are going to talk about some of the players that were there over the weekend, as you're going to get to react to the Dolphins' victory over the Bucs in the preseason coming up in just a moment. But first, it is almost the start of the NFL season, and I don't know about you, but I love this time of year. If you're into sports betting or fantasy, you need a competitive edge to win. That's why I highly recommend the Elias Game Plan app. It's the ultimate sports betting and fantasy companion for the NFL, NBA, and MLB. I'm getting ready for my draft coming up here in just a couple of weeks, and the Elias Game Plan app has helped me with my strategery heading into said draft. Look, Elias Game Plan is the only sports app for the most trusted name in sports stats. Elias Sports Bureau, the official statisticians of U.S. pro sports leagues, including the NFL. Their app lets you access team and player stats, head-to-head team comparisons, and Elias insights from the Elias Sports Bureau's research team. The app is your one-stop resource for player news, league-validated player stats, team records, expert game analysis for betting, building your fantasy team, and impressing all of your friends. It's perfect for the preseason. You can get the player previews to help you draft a winning fantasy team and team previews so you know what to expect as the regular season kicks off. Take my advice, download the Elias Game Plan app today with new features available all the time. Take your game to the next level. The NFL season is right around the corner, so don't wait. Find Elias Game Plan in the App Store or Play Store today. Thanks again for making Locked On Bucs your first listen every day. However you play, get the latest NFL fantasy draft tips from Locked On Fantasy Football and Locked On Dynasty. Plus, starting August 22nd, we're bringing you daily top 10 lists for Fantasy Draft Week. Locked On Fantasy Football and Locked On Dynasty available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. More roster news as the Buccaneers cut down to 85 players on Tuesday. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But, Evan, let's talk about the preseason game between the Bucs and the Dolphins. There were some standouts, one in particular that you tweeted about while tagging the Locked On Bucs Twitter account. But let's start with Kyle Trask. I was very impressed with what I saw out of Kyle, especially in the 2-minute drill. But how did you feel about his performance against the Dolphins?
Really positive. I mean, crud. You would think that Kyle Trask was a fourth-string quarterback out of the MAC with how some fans were treating him with one tweet that the Buccaneers had of a floppy throw. Understandably so, he did not have, up to that point, a strong camp. He had up and down days. I think you heard more about the down days than the good days, but it was really nice to see him get extended work. And the fact that he was so composed in a 2-minute drill scenario and after being so disjointed in the first half shows a lot of resolve. So the mental makeup is there. Let's talk about the 2 turnovers. One of the interceptions was a freak thing, right? I mean, the ball rolls off a guy's leg, it stays in. I mean, it was one of the weirdest interceptions we'll probably see all year that the Buccaneers throw. But, learning lesson, he could have just thrown it right at Rachaad White's foot. But I don't know. I don't really – he tried to elude the sack. I thought there were some good things there. And then the scoop and score fumble – should he feel the pressure? Maybe those instincts need to kick in. But he also, it was terrible protection, which is probably the negative for me in watching that play than him getting rocked 2 seconds into a play. So overall, the way that he started the game in that drive and the way that he finished the game with that drive, especially the 3rd and long and then the 4th down, and that throw on 4th down was a dime. It is very hard for you to walk away from that game as a fan and not say that there's something there. Now, maybe he is a backup next season, but the fact of the matter is, you look at that and you say, he's someone I want to learn more about. He's someone that's the progress you want to see. And there's no doubt in my mind that Kyle Trask is probably going to he's going to be a top 3 quarterback in the preseason with snaps and attempts. The Buccaneers are going to ride him like Seabiscuit to see what they have in him. And, shout out also to Blaine Gabbert, who I thought looked as composed as can be. And, I mean, the first drive got ruined by a Stinney hold, and the second drive was easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Well, and I voiced my opinion on the turnovers on yesterday's episode. I put the interception on Kyle Trask. I had said that it kind of reminded me of a Winston moment where he tried to extend the play, forced the throw to try to make something happen, and it ended poorly. Sometimes it's better to just eat the sack and live to play another down. But that fumble, I put that on squarely on the shoulders of the offensive line. And there were some people in the YouTube comments that disagreed with me, and that's fine. It's all about how we see different plays, different situations. But Evan, let's allow you to take your victory lap here for a quick moment and talk about your guy, Anthony Nelson, and his performance against the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, look, and speaking completely honestly, as I said in that tweet, right, I've beat the drum over Anthony Nelson. Beginning of the season, bold predictions, I said the guy can have, 8 sacks this year? I think that was my bold prediction. I stand by it. I love his game, and I loved it last year too. I also said that I thought Tyler Johnson was going to get cut, and he has proved me wrong, proved a lot of fans wrong. The way that Tyler Johnson has entered camp this year has been completely different than what we saw of him last year. So it was just one game. It's just been a few weeks of training camp, but I'm willing to say that right now I was wrong on Tyler Johnson. Up to this point, I think, he's firmly on the 53 for me, and that's no question mark right now, actually. But Anthony Nelson, you saw exactly what he can do. And Shaq Barrett even said it, where Anthony Nelson reminds him of himself when he was with the Denver Broncos, that he just needed the opportunity for more reps. And he'll have the ability to get more reps this season than last season. Obviously, even though he was going to be ahead of Cam Gill anyway, I still think he will be ahead of Carl Nassib when that's all said and done. As somebody, when you add up the snaps, Todd Bowles said that he's never seen a player not get deked out on fakes, on play action fakes, except for Anthony Nelson, who is unbelievable in the run and the pass and recognizing when it's happening. So we just saw a signal here of, A, he's better than the competition that you're seeing on the field. It reminds me of like watching NBA Summer League when you have a second-year NBA player who played a decent amount his rookie season, returning to Vegas, playing against a bunch of dudes, and just you can tell that the competition is a little bit different, that, this guy is someone who's going to play, using football again on Sundays, and then other guys are probably going to get waived and not ever going to sniff the court. So, this just confirms to me that Nelson is ready to be an impactful player this year. Not an every down guy, but certainly when you need to give Shaq and JTS a blow, you're not going to lose anything by having Anthony Nelson out there. I'm really excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, and it kind of gives you that insurance. And Carl Nassib's the same way. Nassib's season, his lone season under Todd Bowles with the Buccaneers in 2019 was absolutely outstanding. It gives you that confidence that you run into issues like the Bucs have over the last couple of years with some major injuries. They lost JPP for some extended time. They've lost Shaq Barrett for a game or two. Now you have an opportunity where you have Anthony Nelson behind JTS and Shaq. You have Carl Nassib behind those guys. You have starting caliber players as your depth, and that's going to be huge, especially down the stretch and into the postseason. But Evan, we're going to talk about some of these roster moves coming up in just a moment. But first, all of you need to join all of us that are using AG1 every day. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food-sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. So basically, all of the things. Supports better sleep quality and recovery. That's why I take it, because need that sleep recovery. Supports mental.
Need that sleep, period.
That is true. And it supports mental clarity and alertness. It's the one thing with the best things. Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third-party testing. Your subscription comes with a year's supply of vitamin D, which is so important to add in as we head into these winter months, and you're not going to be getting as much sunlight. It costs you less than $3 a day, so you're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew or high-end coffee habit. It's cheaper than getting all of the different supplements yourself. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills or supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NFL network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NFL network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Something else that you can do if you're trying to cut out some of those sweets and some of those, not so healthy foods, maybe you should just grasp on to the Built Bar Puffs. And guess what? There's a new flavor. Delicious, indulgent cookie dough covered in chocolate. That's right. Built has done it again. Let me introduce you to your new favorite flavor, cookie dough chunk puffs. They have a light and chewy texture, real cookie dough chunks, and of course, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. All the joys of eating cookie dough without the hassle of making it, and it's healthy for you. Cookie dough chunk puffs are only 160 calories. They have a whopping 15 grams of protein. Go to Built.com to snag a box for you and the family. It's the perfect treat. Or you can find a really good hiding place and just eat them all yourself. I have multiple hiding places to keep my goodies away from the children, and you better believe that Built Bars are included in that. Like all the Built Bars, the cookie dough chunk puff is covered in 100% real chocolate. That means they're healthy and tasty. What's great about Built is that all of their bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently, provides tons of health benefits. You can eat something that tastes good and is good for you. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKEDON15 and get 15% off your order. Again, promo code LOCKEDON15 at Built.com. Wrapping things up here on a WTSP Wednesday. David is going to be back tomorrow before he and I reconvene on Friday's episode. It's amazing. David and I did 6 episodes in 3 days together last week. Have not done an episode together this week yet.
You need some time. You need some time apart. Okay.
I mean, it's pretty easy to schedule our recording when we're staying in the same house. Not so easy when we're back home and have, other conflicting issues going on. But there were some roster moves made by the Buccaneers as NFL teams had to get down to the 85-player mark. Let's start, Evan, with your thoughts. I know you briefly touched on it in segment 2, but let's get your thoughts on the addition of Carl Nassib to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's not officially official as of yet, I don't think.
No, but Bowles talked about the addition at practice before heading to Nashville. So he's coming unless he fails a physical. But, I think that it's a great addition. I mean, it comes with a little bit of sadness because if, you also run back to tape before camp, somebody I was excited about was Cam Gill. And Cam Gill is going to be out a long time. He just had surgery, Liz Frank injury. Levante David had something similar last year, and he was gutting through 60% of what he normally is. As we know, history with heels, especially surgeries. I mean, I think it takes like 10 to 12 weeks. It's a long time. So I don't think he'll be put on the IR before the season. I think he should have the ability to come back if they make a run, to the postseason or at the end of this year. But certainly hurts. It hurts special teams. But Nassib, who I think can also go on special teams, something he was doing with the Raiders, he will be asked to do a little bit more in that world while also providing tremendous depth at that position. So it's a fair swap. I don't think that the Buccaneers lose anything bringing in Nassib, except they lose just a smidge on special teams. But they probably gain a little bit in veteran experience, knowledge, and just a wee bit of talent on the Carl Nassib side of what his potential can be, since we know he had 12 and a half sacks with the Buccaneers throughout his 2 seasons here.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously the cut down to 85, you're not typically going to see anyone big, but someone that contributed a lot to the Buccaneers last season. He had to fill in because of some big injuries, but Ross Cockrel not going to be part of the Buccaneers in 2022. He was part of the initial cut downs. And, it's one of those situations where they knew he wasn't going to make the team, but they like him. They want him to have an opportunity. So they made him part of these early cuts, knowing he wasn't going to make their roster, give him a chance to latch on with another team here over the next couple of weeks before the season starts. So if I was trying to look it up, David has this information saved somewhere. I think I had Ross Cockrel on my initial 53-man roster prediction, but I can't fully remember. But I was certainly a little surprised to see him being one of the cuts on Tuesday. What were your thoughts when that name popped up?
Yeah, it's certainly surprising. Again, I mean, the guy started, 6 games for this team over the past 2 seasons, was the training camp MVP last year, and started off the season like gangbusters, and then he did kind of fall back down to earth. I mean, he really struggled there towards the end of the year, and his role was reduced to next to nothing. So there was a falling out of favor, which we knew about. You could see it in the snaps. And obviously they want to just get a little younger. They don't, maybe they felt like he just wasn't fitting their gadgety mold that he was kind of in last year. And they did the right thing by him. I'm sure that they would have loved to had him in camp competing with everybody else and trying to push for a spot. But if you think that he can latch on somewhere else, you should do that. You should do right by a player who has kind of been a contributor to you in the past like that. So, tip of the cap. He's got a Super Bowl ring to walk away from this experience. So, I doubt there's any hard feelings. And look, he'll go to another camp, and if he doesn't make it there, he could sneak back on the Bucs practice squad for all we know later down the road. So, who knows? We'll see. It's a tiny circle in the NFL, so it's never an official goodbye until you retire.
Yeah,
and even then, it's not even an official goodbye.
Right? Yeah, maybe your retirement only lasts for 40 days, and then you decide to come back. I mean, and I do have to mention to you, there was a YouTube comment on yesterday's episode, immediately made me think of you. Someone says, I don't think we've seen the last of Gronk. Now, I don't know. We'll see. I still have it saved in the script that you had guaranteed back on July 12th. We are going to have that discussion again. I don't think that day is today because we're out of time and there's really no signs as to why, but maybe. We'll see.
We'll talk after the bye.
There it is. All right. Well, of course, we want to thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listen every day. Now make Locked On Fantasy Football your second listen. Find the intellectual fantasy expert Vinny Iyer, who brings over 20 years of NFL expertise and a unique angle to give you the moves that no one else has. Get ready for your fantasy draft with Locked On Fantasy Football. Again, David will be back tomorrow before he and I reconvene on Friday's episode. If you have any questions or topics, or you want to badmouth anything that Evan or I said over the last couple of days so that David can pile on, of course, you can give us a call at 813-444-5841 or send us an email to lockedonbuckspodcast@gmail.com. Check out everything Evan is doing over there on 10 Tampa Bay and on 10tampabay.com. Check out my work over at bucksnation.com. And, of course, make sure you're following all of us on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JYarcho_Bucs, at DHarrison82, and at eKlosky WTSP. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding day. Stay safe, stay healthy, fire those cannons. And we thank you so much for joining us right here at Locked On Bucs.